The autumn wind blew through the parking lot of Trump's campaign headquarters in Palm Beach, Florida, as Karoline Leavitt, the newly appointed White House press secretary under the Trump administration, stepped out of the morning meeting. The air was already buzzing, though the sun had just risen. While reviewing her speech at the White House office in Washington, D.C., her phone buzzed incessantly, prompting an annoyed, "Oh my God." The new internal communication system she'd requested that afternoon flagged an unusual message on the forum. "Anyone have leftovers from yesterday's event? I can work extra hours to trade." The message from Emily Carter stopped Karoline cold. The desperation veiled behind polite words was impossible to ignore. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. She'd felt something off since morning. After wrapping up a strategy session with senior advisors in Palm Beach, observing staff through the entrance gate, she paused to chat with Jake, a young security guard. "How's your newborn daughter?" she asked. "She doesn't sleep much, but we're okay." "She's a good kid, ma'am," Jake replied with a tired smile. Such exchanges were growing more important to Karoline, not for optics, but due to the annoying unease in the office. Her assistant, Hannah, waited with a packed schedule. "The advisory team wants to discuss media strategy," Hannah began, but Karoline cut in. "First, get me last month's staff morale report, raw data, all of it." "Anything specific?" Hannah asked. "Something's wrong. I just don't know what yet," Karoline replied, eyes scanning numbers. The morning sped by with meetings, media strategy, voter data, donor calls. The familiar rhythm of the team that had just delivered Trump's victory. But through the office glass, she couldn't take her eyes off the staff. "You okay?" Michael, the head of HR, asked during a lunch break. "How well do we really know them once they leave here?" she countered. "Set up the new comm system," she ordered. "I want to monitor the forum messages. Flag health issues, hardships. I need direct access." "Could be seen as intrusive," Michael warned. "Not to spy, to understand," she stressed, smiling. "I've never liked the beaten path." The system kicked in instantly, collecting data as she met with teams. By night, as the day shift left and the night crew took over, she stayed, a hunch anchoring her despite an empty calendar. Most internal messages were mundane, coffee machine gripes, jokes about Trump's ex-posts, until Emily's message popped up, freezing Karoline in place. Something in its wording, the desperation masked expertly behind professional phrasing, the offer to trade hours for food, refused to let her move on. "Pull Emily Carter's file," she commanded, the large screen before her lighting up with details. Emily worked in the Trump campaign's data analysis team at Palm Beach HQ, hired over a year ago with a flawless record and glowing reviews from superiors. But as Karoline scrolled through her logged hours, she muttered, "No way." "Hannah," she called loudly, knowing her assistant was still nearby at her desk. Hannah appeared at the door. "Yes, ma'am. Is Emily Carter's time data accurate?" Hannah checked her tablet quickly. "Yes. She's been pulling all-nighters for over 3 months, early mornings to late nights, barely any breaks." Karoline leaned back, mind reeling. "Pull her task list." More data appeared. Emily had completed complex voter analysis reports, always ahead of schedule despite a crushing workload. Her salary was standard for the role, but what made Karoline frown was a note. Emily was due for a raise review last month, but she'd requested a deferral. Someone working nonstop, delivering stellar results, begging for scraps to trade for extra hours, Karoline murmured. "Show me the camera feed of her workspace." The image popped up. A young woman hunched over a computer, dark hair tied messily, tired eyes stark in the grainy footage. She rubbed her eyes, checked her phone, then hurriedly resumed work. "Miss Hannah." Hannah's voice hesitated. "Should we pass this to HR?" Karoline stayed glued to the screen. Emily picked up an empty coffee cup, stared at it sadly, then set it down. "No," she said firmly. "This is different. I need to figure it out myself." She reopened the internal forum. No one had replied to Emily's message. The night crew was smaller, the break room long closed. The cursor blinked in the reply box. She could send food to Emily's desk right now, but her gut said this wasn't just about a meal. "Hannah, where is she?" A few keystrokes brought up the HQ map. "Section D, desk 312. She's been there since the night shift started." Karoline stood, adjusting her coat. "Cancel all my morning meetings except the media team call." She headed for the door, then paused. "And Hannah, dig up everything on Emily Carter. Not just her employee file, but social media, public records, everything. Hannah nodded. What are we looking for? Karoline glanced at the screen again. Emily had just pulled a small photo from her drawer, staring at it longingly before tucking it away as a coworker passed. The truth, she replied simply. We need the truth. Her phone buzzed again. A new message from Emily on the forum. Never mind the food. I'm fine. Sorry for bothering. That retraction only hardened Karoline's resolve. Something was deeply wrong, and she had to find out. She sank back into her chair, mind racing. In all her time working for Trump, from campaign to White House, no situation had felt quite like this. Maybe it was Emily's retraction, the quiet pride in hiding her struggle, or the sense that she represented a bigger crack in the team. Time crawled. Karoline resumed work, but her eyes kept drifting to the camera feed. Emily barely moved, focused intently despite obvious hunger. Then her phone lit up with Hannah's update. Karoline read, growing more puzzled. Emily's social media activity had vanished 3 months ago, coinciding with her overwork spiral. Public records showed she'd moved from a decent apartment to a rougher area, and, most strikingly, there were regular payments to an unfamiliar medical facility. Pieces were falling into place, but the picture wasn't clear. Finally, the camera showed Emily tidying her desk, stacking papers neatly, shutting down her computer. Even after an endless day, she kept order. Karoline stood, grabbing her coat. John, she called via phone. Get the car ready, and keep this quiet. Walking through HQ's near empty halls, she felt the weight of her next move following an employee home wasn't just unusual. It could spark controversy, especially for a press secretary. But seeing Emily's weary figure push through the exit, she knew she had to act. Hannah's final update pinged. Emily had applied for emergency financial aid the same week her overwork began. Sometimes, she told herself, stepping into the car, you break rules to fix the system. John, her longtime driver, asked no questions as she instructed him to trail Emily's old car discreetly. When Emily pulled into a gas station on Palm Beach's outskirts, Karoline told John, stop here. Keep it running. Through the window, she watched Emily count coins for gas, just enough to get home. As Emily paid inside, she stood by the bread rack, staring, then left empty-handed. Leavitt, John spoke up, I've seen that look. My sister had it too, choosing between food for her kids and the electric bill. Karoline leaned forward. What happened? John met her eyes in the rear view. Someone stepped in, changed her life. That's why I work for you. I believe you'll help when you see something wrong. Before she could reply, Emily's car pulled out, and they resumed through darkening streets. Normally, Karoline would be prepping Trump's speech now, not tailing an employee through dark streets. Keep distance, John, she told the driver. Don't spook her. John adjusted the mirror. Miss Leavitt, I've never seen you take a personal interest in staff like this. Karoline watched Emily's Honda roll ahead, brake lights flickering faintly. Neither have I. Her phone buzzed, Hannah again. Emily's credit score tanked months ago. Loan denied. Ineligible for better housing. The picture sharpened, but it weighed on her. Hannah texted again. Emily's payments traced to a specialized childcare center in Palm Beach. One for critically ill kids, mostly uncovered by insurance. Karoline's grip tightened. She knew of such places, cutting-edge care that could save kids denied by insurers over costs. She'd pitched Trump on aiding such families during the campaign, but it was shelved over budget concerns. As they left Central Palm Beach, Emily turned onto a boulevard lined with convenience stores and pawn shops. Streetlights dimmed, grew sparse. The phone rang. Michael. Miss Leavitt, it's nearly midnight. I got an alert. Someone accessed Emily Carter's HR file. What's up? It's me, she said. A pause. You know there are protocols. What's her salary? She cut in. Keys clacked. Standard for her role. $60,000 a year plus benefits. Solid, right? Karoline asked, eyes on Emily's car at a rundown gas station. So why is one of our best counting coins for gas? She watched Emily feed change into the pump, the total creeping up slowly. If staff are struggling, we have aid programs, Michael said. Those require forms exposing their hardships, Karoline replied, seeing Emily trudge off, shoulders slumped. How many use them? Another pause. Under 1%. Why? You think. Before Michael could answer, Emily's car moved. Got to go, she said, hanging up. They entered a grim suburb. Streets deteriorating. I know this area, John said softly. My sister lived here before things turned around. It's where people go when options run out. These outer Palm Beach streets were dark, homes marked by neglect. But as they passed, Karoline noticed something. Even in poverty, dignity shone through. Tiny potted gardens, wind chimes from scrap metal. Efforts at beauty amid hardship. Emily's car slowed, turning into Haven Oaks, a once decent complex now a shadow of its past. A weak yellow sign glowed over cracked concrete. John, wait here, Karoline said, stepping out. Miss Leavitt, this place has good people who deserve better, John said, voice low. She adjusted her coat. That's all I need to know. From the shadows, she watched Emily unload campaign files, a laptop bag, and a small pouch that looked medical. She moved slowly, the day's toll in every step, climbing the outdoor stairs to the third floor. Emily paused, leaning on the railing. Karoline's hand twitched, resisting the urge to help. On the third-floor hall, Emily dropped her keys, muttering a curse. As she bent down, papers slipped from her stack, fluttering in the breeze. One drifted toward Karoline. She caught it before it flew off. What she saw stole her breath, not voter data, but a bill from a child care center. $882,000. Stamped overdue, final notice. A door creak snapped her back. Emily had vanished inside, leaving Karoline alone in the lot with a paper that explained everything, and nothing. She climbed the stairs slowly, mind spinning. That sum dwarfed Emily's yearly pay. Even working non-stop, living in this dump, driving a car older than some junior staff. At apartment 305, she paused. Through thin walls, she heard a faint TV, steady medical beeps, a weak, odd cough. Then Emily's soft voice. Sorry, Ben. The break room closed before I could get off, but I'll whip something up for you now. A childish voice, frail but firm, replied, You need to eat too. You had a big lunch, Emily lied, and Karoline's chest tightened. She recalled Emily's forum plea for leftovers. Emily Carter, the boy's tone grew stern. I'm your brother. I know when you're not eating right, sis. The new therapy's working. That's what matters. Not if it wrecks me, he shot back. The silence that followed hung heavy with unspoken pain. Karoline raised her hand to knock, then froze. What right did she have to intrude on this? But then her mother's words echoed. Sometimes the right thing and the easy thing aren't the same. She knocked. Sounds inside halted. Cautious steps approached. Who's there? Emily's voice masked exhaustion. Karoline took a breath. Emily, it's Karoline Leavitt. I need to talk. Silence stretched, as if Emily's heartbeat thudded through the door. Miss Leavitt? Her voice cracked. Is something wrong with my work? No. Nothing's wrong, Karoline said. I just want to talk. Another pause. Then the lock clicked. The door cracked open, revealing Emily's face, eyes brimming with confusion and fear. I don't understand, she whispered. Why are you here? From inside, the boy's voice called. Emmy? Who's that? Emily forced calm. It's nothing, Ben. Just a neighbor. But his voice sharpened. That's no neighbor's voice. I've heard it on TV. Emily closed her eyes, and Karoline saw her professional mask fracture. Here, she wasn't the ace campaign worker, but a sister desperate to save her brother. When she opened her eyes, they held resignation laced with defiant pride. Come in, Emily said, her tone formal, as if this were an HQ meeting. She swung the door wide, and the sight inside stunned Karoline. The apartment was clean but bare, a child's bed with medical gear dominating the living room. Beside it sat Ben Carter, thin and frail, eyes bright but body weak. So, you're the one Emmy works herself to death for? Ben asked, voice faint but sharp. Emily murmured, Ben, this is my boss, Miss Leavitt. Ben's gaze locked on Karoline, and she instantly saw where Emily drew her strength. Then rest, Emily started, but he raised a hand. No. If the press secretary's here at midnight, there's a reason, he eyed Karoline. Right, Miss Leavitt? Karoline scanned the room, a folding table piled with campaign work, a kitchen counter with pill bottles, a lone apple likely Emily's dinner. Yes, she said. I had a reason, but now I see it's not as important as what I'm witnessing. Ben gestured to an old folding chair. Sit and tell me why you followed my sister home. Emily gasped softly. You followed me? Yes. Karoline sat, meeting Ben's eyes. Because something felt off, and I needed to understand. Do you yet? Ben asked. Karoline pulled the bill from her pocket. I'm starting to. Miss Leavitt, I can explain, Emily began. No rush, she cut in gently. First, I want to hear about this therapy that's working. Emily and Ben traded a look, years of hardship distilled in that moment. Ben spoke. It's a special treatment for my condition. Insurance won't cover it because it's too new, but it's making me stronger. At what cost? Karoline asked, eyeing Emily. Emily lifted her chin. Any cost is worth it. Those words held everything: resolve, exhaustion, fear, and love. Karoline had seen staff gripe about campaign stress, but Emily Carter worked relentlessly, lived in want, just to keep her brother alive. That truth hit her like a punch. Miss Leavitt, Emily's voice pulled her back. Will you report this? I mean, my overtime. I know it's against campaign rules, but… No, Karoline said firmly. I won't report it. I'll fix it. Fix what? Ben asked, though his eyes hinted he already knew. Karoline stood, mind buzzing with ideas, everything. But first, she pulled out her phone. I'm ordering food. Real food, not event scraps. While we eat, we'll figure out what needs to change in this team. Miss Leavitt, you don't have to do this, Emily protested. Yes, I do, she met Emily's eyes. Because if I don't fix this, really fix it, not just for you but for everyone, what's the point of the movement we've built? Revolutionizing a country without caring for its builders is meaningless. Ben cracked a smile, a real one, lighting his weary face. Sounds like the Miss Leavitt from TV, he said. As Karoline placed the order, she realized something. She'd come seeking answers about one employee, but found a bigger truth. A wake-up call about what leading a team in transformative times really meant. The conversation that followed over late-night delivery would shift not just Emily's life, but how the campaign team operated. But that was for later. For now, in the small Haven Oaks apartment, 3 people sat together, starting to mend what was broken. As the smell of delivered roast chicken wafted through, Karoline couldn't help noticing Emily still glancing at Ben's medical gear. Even in a moment meant for relief, her vigilance never stopped. This is really good, Ben said, taking careful, small bites. Though I bet it costs more than our weekly grocery budget. Ben, Emily whispered, embarrassed. But he pressed on. Miss Leavitt, do you often follow staff home at midnight? No, Karoline admitted, setting her fork down. First time. So why my sister? Before she could answer, the medical equipment beeped. Emily sprang up instantly, checking readings, adjusting tubes with startling precision. She could have been a doctor. She was top of her class. Brilliant. But med school was too expensive, so she chose the campaign instead, Ben said softly, watching her. A pause. Funny thing, Ben went on. She picked a different path to avoid medical debt, yet here we are. Ben, stop, Emily said, returning to her seat. Miss Leavitt doesn't need to hear this. No, I think I do, Karoline leaned forward. Tell me about this therapy. Emily and Ben shared another look, years of struggle in their eyes. Finally, Emily grabbed a thick file from a nearby table. It's a specialized treatment for Ben's illness, she explained, pulling out papers. They use new tech to boost his immune system. It's showing results, but since it's experimental, insurance won't touch it. Not a dime, Ben confirmed. They call it unnecessary, like living's optional. The center's payment plan was manageable at first, Emily continued, spreading bills on the table. I used savings, sold my car. The one I bought back was all I could afford. Moved here, cut everything non-essential. Emmy, Ben cut in. Show her your hands. No, Emily resisted. But he insisted. Show her. Reluctantly, Emily extended her hands. In the apartment's light, Karoline saw them, red and raw. She cleans desks at HQ during breaks, Ben explained, voice catching, because a full day on the campaign still isn't enough. Karoline's chest tightened. Your whole salary goes to the therapy? She asked. Emily nodded. The cleaning gig covers food and rent most days. She recalled Emily's plea for leftovers. Now it clicked fully. But the therapy's working, Emily added quickly, as if fearing judgment. Show her the latest results, Ben. He handed over a sheet, a chart with clear improvement. The doc says 6 more months, Emily's voice broke. 6 months. That'll break you, Ben interrupted. I don't want that. I'd rather let it run its course than watch you destroy yourself. Ben, we've been over this, Emily said. No, you talk, I watch. Watch you waste away. Exhausted. Skipping meals. Working nonstop. This isn't living, Emmy. But you're getting better, she countered. So, isn't it worth it? This argument had clearly played out before. Karoline watched Emily rub her temples, a gesture she'd seen on camera. When did you last sleep more than 4 hours? She asked. Emily flinched. I'm not sure. Maybe last weekend. Eat a proper meal. Emily looked away. I've got protein bars at my desk. Take a day off. The therapy doesn't take days off, she replied softly. Ben grabbed her hand. Tell her about the promotion you turned down. What promotion? Karoline asked sharply. Emily hesitated. 3 weeks ago, Data. Team lead, but it required night training. So I passed so she wouldn't cut back on her burnout hours. Then added I had no choice. Emily said, There's always a choice. Emmy then replied, Even impossible ones, like letting me go? She stood, pacing. Watch you lose to this because we can't afford the only treatment that works. That's the choice you want me to make. The equipment beeped again, and Emily checked it automatically, movements precise despite clear exhaustion. Miss Leavitt then said, while she was busy, Know what's hardest about having a sick loved one? Watching them choose between health and money, seeing a family break, not from illness, but cost. She gestured around. I've watched my sister face an impossible choice thousands have faced. Emily returned, hands trembling slightly. The doctor says his body's responding better than expected, she said, almost to herself. Just 6 more months. I can handle it. Handle how? Karoline asked gently. When you're carrying more than anyone should. I don't have a choice, Emily repeated, quieter. Everyone has a choice. Karoline stood. And now it's time for mine. Both scared, confused. Miss Leavitt? Emily asked warily. She checked her phone. It was late. Can't call the president now, but I will tomorrow. This isn't about rules, she cut off Emily. It's about doing right, not just for you, but for everyone. I don't get it, Emily said. Karoline looked around again, the medical gear a lifeline, the bills a symbol of impossible choices. 2 siblings sacrificing everything for a few more months together. When I joined Trump's team, she said slowly, I believed in changing the country, making America great again, building a powerful movement. But what's that movement worth if we don't care for the people who make it? She turned to Ben. How much does this therapy cost, total everything? Ben gave a figure that made Karoline frown. Enough to fund several major campaign events. She nodded, jotting it into her phone. And the doctor says 6 more months? Yes, Emily confirmed. But Miss Leavitt, why? Because tomorrow morning, I'm calling the president, she replied. We're going to change how we take care of our team. Emily stood, her professional mask snapping back. I appreciate the concern, but I can manage. Emily, Karoline cut in gently, when's the last time you let someone help you? The question stopped Emily short, her mouth opening, then closing, no words escaping. That's right, Ben said softly. She's always carried the world on her shoulders. Not anymore, Karoline said firmly. Starting tomorrow, things change, not just for you, but for everyone on the team who might be one crisis away. How? Emily asked, and for the first time that night, Karoline heard a spark of hope in her voice. First, we'll cover Ben's therapy fully. That cost is less than what we spend on HQ coffee each month. She raised a hand to stop Emily's protest. Then we'll overhaul staff support policies. No more gaps, no more denying treatments that work. If it keeps people alive, it gets paid for. The advisory team won't agree, Emily fretted. They work for the president, and the president trusts me, Karoline replied, her voice carrying the weight of someone who'd swayed a nation from the White House podium. After that, we'll review every policy forcing staff to choose between family and work. Ben watched her, his gaze unreadable. You sound angry, Miss Leavitt. I am, she admitted. Angry that one of our best has to clean desks on breaks. Angry that a kid who deserves care isn't getting it. Angry that I had to follow you home to see this happening right under my nose. Emily sat, tears finally spilling over. I didn't want anyone to know, didn't want to be a burden. You're not a burden, Ben said fiercely. You're my sister, and you've carried too much alone for too long. Karoline watched Emily sob, months of exhaustion and worry pouring out as Ben held her hand. In that moment, she made another call. Take tomorrow off, she said softly. Emily's head snapped up. But my work. It'll be there the day after. Take the week, paid, plus all the overtime you never claimed. I can't, Emily objected. You can, Karoline countered. Because while you're off, I'll be busy fixing what should have been fixed long ago. She stood to call John, but Ben spoke. Miss Leavitt. Yes. Thanks for following my sister home tonight. She looked at Emily, now asleep in her chair, still clutching Ben's hand. No, she replied gently. Thank you both for showing me what I needed to see. As she left the apartment, her mind blazed with plans. Tomorrow would bring big changes. But for now, she'd given two siblings who'd nearly lost everything something precious: hope. Karoline reached the White House before dawn, mind still reeling from the night before. The cleaning crew blinked in surprise at her. Daylight hadn't broken. Hannah, she called her assistant as she entered her office. Set an emergency meeting with the president and advisors today. No exceptions. Miss Leavitt, it's awfully early, Hannah replied, but her fingers were already typing. Then wake them up, Oval Office before 8, and pull all current staff support policy docs. Something wrong? Hannah asked. Karoline paused at the door, picturing Emily's raw hands and Ben's medical gear. Yes, something that shouldn't have been allowed to happen. By 7:30 a.m., her office brimmed with charts and files. Michael from HR stood nearby, nervous. Miss Leavitt, about Emily Carter. How many others are like this? What do you mean? How many are overworked, on the edge, choosing between family and food? Michael fumbled. Our surveys don't. That's the problem, Karoline cut in, gathering papers. We don't know because we don't ask. That changes today. The advisors filed into the Oval Office on time, faces a mix of curiosity and concern. Emergency meetings with Karoline weren't rare, but this felt different. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, then paused as the room's TV flashed a headline. Healthcare costs soar, leaving families without needed care. She pivoted. What's our movement's greatest asset? The advisors exchanged glances. Voter data? One ventured. The president's image? Another said. Wrong. Karoline tossed Emily's file on the table. It's our people, and we're failing them. She spent the next hour laying it out, impossible choices, hidden struggles, gaps in support policies. But Miss Leavitt, an advisor interrupted, we have standard aid funds. Standard isn't enough, she shot back, flipping open a spreadsheet. Know how? Much we spend on media events yearly, more than therapy costs for every staffer who needs it. The president will see this as the best investment, or he can find someone else to do this job. The room went silent. We're building a future, Karoline pressed on in the Oval Office. But that future has to be for everyone, not just voters, but the people who make it happen. By late afternoon, the decision passed. New policies would take effect immediately. But Karoline wasn't done. She had one last stop. The sun set as she pulled into Haven Oaks lot again. This time, she didn't hesitate. At apartment 305, Emily opened the door, looking more at ease than Karoline had ever seen. Ms. Leavitt, everything okay? Better than okay, Karoline replied, handing her a file. These are the team's new policies. I wanted you to see them first. As Emily read, her hands shook. No way. Yes way. Karoline pointed toward Ben, sitting upright, noticeably stronger. Your brother's therapy is fully covered, retroactive to day 1. We're also finding you both a new place closer to HQ. But why? Emily whispered. Why do all this? Karoline looked around. The medical gear, soon obsolete, the folding table where Emily once burned out. Two siblings who'd shown her what strength really was. Because sometimes it takes a new lens to see what needs fixing, she said. She pulled out another sheet. One more thing. That team lead spot you passed on. It's still yours if you want it. Normal hours, of course. Emily looked at Ben, eyes welling up. Ben grinned. Take it, Em. Time for someone else to carry a little. 3 months later, Karoline stood at a DC conference podium before leaders and press. The headline behind her read, Trump admin pioneers staff support policies. She didn't name Emily or Ben but spoke of dignity, that no staffer should choose between saving loved ones and their own health. That true innovation means caring for its creators. In the crowd, Emily sat quietly, Ben beside her in a wheelchair but far healthier than before. They didn't need recognition. The changes around them were enough. Other campaigns began following suit, support policies rippling through politics. That night, as Emily drove home in a new car, a team perk she'd finally accepted, she passed Haven Oaks. The sign still hung crooked, but something was different. The small plots around the building now bloomed with real flowers. She realized change sometimes starts small. A desperate forum plea for food can grow into something that transforms thousands of lives. At their new apartment, bright with light and hope, Ben waited with a home-cooked dinner. No hospital bed. No bill stacks. Just two siblings at a real table, talking like normal people. You know, Ben said, passing veggies. I saw Ms. Leavitt on TV today. She said something that reminded me of that night. That real revolution isn't just political. It's human. Emily smiled, recalling the desperate woman she'd been months ago. She changed everything, didn't she? Ben took her hands, no longer raw from cleaning, now strong and steady. No, Em. You did. She just needed to see it through your eyes. Somewhere at the White House, Karoline Leavitt prepped for the next step in Trump's movement. But this time, she viewed every proposal, policy, and decision through a new lens. Does this help my team thrive, not just survive? And the answer grew clearer, yes. The story. Karoline Leavitt follows a campaign staffer who asked for food to her home. What she saw reflects real issues in American society today. Skyrocketing healthcare costs, income gaps, and work pressures pushing people into impossible choices. Emily Carter, a dedicated campaign worker toiling endlessly to fund her brother Ben's therapy, even cleaning desks on breaks for food money, embodies millions of Americans balancing family duty and survival. Karoline's journey, from spotting a plea for leftovers on an internal forum to driving staff support policy changes, shows the power of empathy and individual action in fixing systemic wrongs. The rundown. Haven Oaks apartment, an overdue $882,000 bill, and Emily's raw hands symbolize the quiet struggles many U.S. workers endure, often masked by pride or fear of judgment. The lesson here isn't just the need for compassion, but for concrete action to change reality. In today's America, where 62% of bankruptcies are tied to medical costs, per the American Journal of Public Health, each of us, from leaders to coworkers, must actively listen and help. Learn from Karoline. Don't wait for surveys or top-down policies. Notice small signs, a call for help, a tired glance, and turn them into momentum for betterment. Don't let anyone choose between family, health, and food like Emily did. Change starts with daring to ask, look, and act, right in your community, right now. Subscribe to the channel to follow moving stories like Emily and Karoline's journey, where small changes can spark something huge. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video for more meaningful life lessons.